Hello friends, and welcome back to Lady Dynamite Creates. I'm Tiffany. Fall is finally settling in here, and now that the weather's cooling off, I thought it was the perfect moment to create a cozy little doll that truly feels like autumn. Warm colors, soft textures, and all the comfy vibes. Let's dive in. I've pulled Claudine from my stock box. It's been a while since I've used her as a base, and her warm brown skin tone is just right for the palette I'm imagining. She already came to me without her hair, so all I need to do is remove her factory paint with acetone and gently pop her head off for a pretty easy start. I'm honestly so excited about her outfit, so that's where I'm beginning. Her overskirt is getting embroidered details, so I first sketch out my design right onto the pattern piece and start planning the colors. I do the leaves first since they'll sit underneath the floral elements. It's been ages since I last did any hand embroidery, and I've never used it on a doll project before. I picked it up during lockdown and made a few tiny pieces for necklaces and such, but that's as far as I went. This felt like the perfect project to dust things off and give it another go. What about you? Did you pick up any new hobbies or random talents during the 2020 lockdown? I'd love to hear. I know I had a whole list. That's actually when I started my YouTube journey. Once the leaves are in place, I start on the flowers. I begin with the roses using the woven wheel technique. It's such a pretty motif and surprisingly simple. I make a 5-pointed spiderweb shape, then weave the embroidery floss over and under each leg until the rose is full and fluffy. There are other ways to make 3D roses, like the cast-on stitch or the bullion stitch, my absolute favorite, but I've yet to master those. I wanted to say a big thank you to my incredible Patreon supporters. Thank you for hanging out with me on my creative journey. I'm so lucky to have such an amazing crew backing me up. Angel Book Walter, Awkward Burb, Deborah Sweeney, Jay Zur, Stephanie L, Dancing Johari, Vex Mini Studio, Ellen Doria, Kitsy, Oak Magpie, Tara N. The last flowers I add are clusters of French knots. They're pretty easy, but trying to do them on camera was a whole adventure. I have to brace my hoop just right to keep tension while wrapping the thread. I did a few to show you, then took everything downstairs and got comfy on the sofa to finish the rest. Here is the finished embroidery, and I love how it turned out. To finish off this pattern piece, I cut it out and gently fray it to the marked line. Embroidery can leave the back a little wild, so to protect all those strands, I add a layer of fusible interfacing to keep things neat and snag-free. Now for the underskirt. I cut a long strip of fabric for the ruffle and I fold it in half so I don't have to hem it. Then I sew 2 rows of gathered stitches, pulling on the threads to create that lovely ruffle and distribute it evenly so that it matches the bottom edge of the skirt base. Once everything lines up, I sew them together. Next up, I'm moving on to the bodice of the dress. For the collar, I'm using 2 layers of fabric and stitching right along the seam line before I cut anything out. I love doing small pieces this way because it keeps everything nice and symmetrical and makes those tiny little seam allowances so much easier to manage. And just look at that, such a clean little collar piece. It'll be a breeze to attach to the neckline. I actually sew it wrong side to wrong side so that I can flip it up later and hide the seam allowance under the collar itself. Even though this clip is sped up something wild like 700%, trust me, I'm sewing very slowly, easing around that curve and lifting my presser foot constantly to keep things smooth and even. I want that curve to look nice. Now for the sleeves. These are going to be big, puffy, and dramatic. I gather the bottom edge until it fits the cuff, sew them together, and then get them attached to the bodice. With that done, I can sew up the side seams and the sleeves, bringing the bodice together. The bodice is officially done and ready to meet the skirts, but I notice the collar has decided it wants to pop up ever since I added the sleeves. I'll deal with that shortly. First, I gather the skirts until they match the width of the bodice and stitch them together. The skirts are attached. I added a bit of fusible interfacing to the waistline because this cream fabric loves to fray, and that rebellious collar, a few tiny hidden stitches, convinced it to stay put. All that's left for the dress is adding a Velcro closure and sewing up the back. And just like that, the dress is finished. I absolutely love it. The embroidery adds just a special touch, and I'm so glad I decided to include it. To give the outfit a little more charm and layering, she definitely needs some bloomers. I attach the back pieces to the front at the side seams, joining them along the front and then hemming the top edge. Next, I gather the leg openings and add a sweet little lace trim. I sew the back closed up to the mark spot and add the Velcro. And finally, I finish the bloomers by sewing up the leg seams. No one will ever see these under the dress, but we know they're there, and that's good enough for me. Time for the accessories. Instead of 3D modeling shoes this time, I decided to raid my overflowing shoe stash and customize a pair. I ended up choosing this set that I'm pretty sure came from Freaky Fusion Ghoulia. I trim off the skullettes and I start with a nice brown base coat. After several coats, the brown is opaque, so I start draw brushing with lighter shades to make the sculpted details pop. G1 Monster High shoes have phenomenal sculpting. It's just hidden because the factory paint never did them justice. also deepen the shadows where pieces overlap, just to bring out more texture. Painting that tiny eyelet lace, nearly impossible, but a little ball stylish turned out to be the perfect trick to keep the paint right where I needed it. I finished the shoes by gluing tiny buttons in place of the skullettes. I added a few extra shades of brown too. The one flat color just felt boring. I love the final look. It's amazing what a bit of paint and patience can do. Next accessory, a basket of flowers. I 3D printed this one and painted it just like the shoes. Brown base coat, then dry brushing to highlight all those sweet little details. I filled it with miniature flowers and greenery, and I think it turned out absolutely adorable. Now it's time for the face-up. I've prepped the doll with 3 coats of Mr. Super Clear UV Cut Flat, and once the final coat cured, I got started. I'm using watercolor pencils and chalk pastels for this repaint, and I'll have a full list of all of my supplies in the description box if you're curious about what I use. I originally planned to have this video up by Thanksgiving, but life had much sweeter plans for me. Every November, my mom flies out and stays with me for the whole month, which naturally means lots of hanging out, lots of talking, and a little less doll making. And then, the day before Thanksgiving, I came home from running an errand, and surprise, my brother was here. My husband helped plan the whole thing. I hadn't spent a Thanksgiving with my brother in 12 years, so having that time together meant the world to me. And if you remember from my last video, I was sick, and I wasn't sure I'd be well by Halloween. Thankfully, after tons of rest and an embarrassing amount of vitamin C, I bounced back in time. I even got to pull off a little surprise of my own. I drove my daughter several hours away so she could spend the evening with her best friend. They hadn't seen each other in over a year, and even though they talk almost daily, being together just hits differently. Now onto the hair. These Teeswater alpaca locks are perfect for her. I bought them almost 2 years ago because they were just too beautiful to pass up, and I'm thrilled to finally have the right project for them. I turned them into wefts and glue them row by row directly onto her head until it's completely filled in. I styled the locks into a partial updo with little floral accents to tie her hair in with her outfit and accessories. And at long last she's done. I named her Marigold Thistlebrook, which I thought suited this soft-spirited autumn-themed gal perfectly. You can find her in my Etsy shop if you'd like to welcome her to your collection. I've got a few other goodies there too, so feel free to take a look around. Thank you so much for spending this cozy project with me. Your comments, likes, and shares truly mean the world to me. They keep me inspired, motivated, and excited to keep creating. I appreciate you all so much. Until next time, remember, always be creating.